Throughout history, prejudice and discrimination can be seen as prevalent. We will not dismiss America's long history of prejudice that lingers in the hearts and minds of all the world today. Humans are very diverse, and although we share many similarities, we also have many differences. Prejudice and discrimination happen to be the root cause for many human conflicts. According to Dictionary.com, prejudice is an unfavorable opinion or feeling formed beforehand or without knowledge, thought, or reason. These unfavorable opinions, attitudes, or feelings are usually of a hostile nature regarding an ethnic, racial, or religious group. Prejudice not only denies individuals basic human dignity, but it also breaks the unity among people. Prejudice often begins as a stereotype. A stereotype is a negative belief about individuals based solely on their membership in a group, regardless of their individual characteristics. Stereotypes become overgeneralized and are applied then to all members of the group. Stereotypes become overgeneralized and generalizations are based on experiences rather than on any actual evidence in most cases. These stereotypes and generalizations define discrimination as the treatment or consideration of, or making a distinction in favor or against, a person or thing based on the group, class, or category to which that person or thing belongs to, rather than on individual merit, racial and religious intolerance, and discrimination. Discrimination definition from Dictionary.com. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and 1965 outlaws discriminations based on race, color, sex, religion, national origin, and disability. Discriminating because of any of these bases is illegal in decisions dealing with employment, education, and housing. The law also prohibits this discrimination in public places such as restaurants, hotels, and other business establishments. Although these laws are supposed to be the framework for America, we still are experiencing these ideas of superiority based on the group of people we perceive to belong to. In a magazine called Parenting, some 20 years ago, a special report was done on race and the family. Within this article, it said racists are not born, but made. Racism begins not in courts and classrooms, learning institutions, and housing authorities, but at home. Specifically, in interaction between parents and children. What exactly are parents telling their children about race these days? How are racial attitudes being formed? The first prejudice in American human history are most likely due to fear of a stranger or feelings of superiority towards others of a different group. As population increases, societies become more complex and segregated into groups of people rather than individually. Social classes, religion, and other factors are making prejudice a complex meaning. This complexity, as well as different individual and group levels of prejudice, makes determining the reason behind the prejudice very difficult. Most people do not willingly reveal the reasoning for their prejudiced feelings. Some may not even be aware that they have these said feelings. Prejudice and discrimination can come from a traumatic event in someone's life. It can also stem from conforming to societal rules of your parents, popular political leaders, employers, or even friends. Sociologists hold that some of the emotionality in prejudice stems from subconscious attitudes that cause a person to ward off feelings of inadequacy by projecting them onto a target group. Research has shown that prejudice towards one group is often accompanied by prejudice towards other minorities. Psychologists today believe that prejudice stems from a deeper psychological need associated with a particular way of thinking. Specifically, psychologist Gordon Allport believes that prejudice and stereotypes emerge as a result of normal human thinking. In order to make sense of the world, humans sort their information into separate mental categories. Allport said, "Once formed, categories are the basis for normal prejudgment. We cannot possibly avoid this process. Orderly living depends upon it." Social research has shown us that prejudice and discrimination can be correlated with a low self-esteem. By admitting these feelings of hatred onto a certain group, it allows people to enhance their own feelings of self-worth and importance. Social scientists have been working hard to identify common social factors that contribute to the presence of prejudice and discrimination. It is illegal to discriminate against anyone because of characteristics that you have or that someone assumes that you have. Age is one of these characteristics. Discrimination due to how old you are or how old people think you are is common across all ages. This type of discrimination can be indirect or direct. Career or parental status is another category that cannot be discriminated against. Employers must consider any request for flexible working arrangements from potential workers that have children or anyone else under their need of care. Issues relating to employees' rights can happen in several situations. To accommodate these situations, laws make it illegal for employers to treat their employees unfairly because they make requests or express concerns due to their entitlements or workers' rights. Employment entitlements include rate of pay and annual leave. Disability covers a variety of areas that cannot be used against someone. Disability includes total or partial loss of body functions or body parts, diseases such as HIV or hepatitis C that cause disability, a malformation or disfiguration of the body, mental and psychological diseases and disorders, and learning disabilities. This law is set to protect people who currently have, or may have a future disability. Following this, you cannot be discriminated against for using an interpreter or reader, any assisting aid such as an assistant dog. It is against the law to discriminate against anyone based on their sexual orientations, gender identity, or lawful sexual activity. Federal law prohibits workplace discrimination and are enforced by the Equal Opportunity Commission. These are passed Congress and signed by the President. Title V of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 makes it illegal to discriminate against someone based on race, color, religion, national origin, or sex. The law also makes it illegal to retaliate against the person because the person complained about discrimination, filed a charge of discrimination, or participated in an employment discrimination investigation or lawsuit. The law also requires that employers reasonably accommodate applicants and employees sincerely held religious practices unless doing so would impose an undue hardship on the operations of the employer's business. Through this research, social categorization as a part of human nature, it makes a quick draw a conclusion on people and see our world in a simpler form. In some cases, in-groups can be relatively harmless, but categorizing others can lead to discrimination and prejudice towards the out-groups. Due to the significant distress and damage that discrimination and prejudice can do, we must all work together to get beyond them. Discrimination influences the life of the victims on a daily basis in areas such as employment, income, financial opportunities, housing, educational opportunities, and medical care. Even with the same level of training and education, minorities are chosen less for promotions, scholarships, and job offers. Even minor forms of discrimination can be problematic because they may produce anger and anxiety among stigmatized group members and may lead to stress and other psychological problems. Most of the world tries to keep the stereotypes and prejudice out of our mind, and we work hard to not discriminate. But even when we work hard as mentally possible, the negative beliefs are not always controllable.